Okay, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Marie Thouin. I'm the author of What is Compersion? Understanding Positive Empathy in Consensually Non-Monogamous Relationships. And I'm here with Leslie Rogers. Super excited to talk to Leslie today about eroticizing jealousy. It's a topic that he's quite familiar with as the co-founder of the Light Dark Institute. He has guided thousands of people towards shadow integration and essence embodiment for over a decade. His work reveals hidden truths and supports the integration of both the celebrated and the taboo aspects of the self. So, when we're talking about eroticizing jealousy, we're definitely talking about shadow work because jealousy is usually an emotion that most of us try to repress or to talk about in ways that, are congruent with who we're trying to be. So I'm super excited to talk to you, Leslie, today, and welcome to our very tiny YouTube channel. And I'm so excited to hear more to start with about your work in the world. Like, tell me a little bit more about the Light Dark Institute and what led you to dedicate your life to shadow work and integration.
Mm, Thank you. Excited to be here. Um, yeah, the Light Dark Institute is something that resulted as a expression of something that happened between me and my partner, beginning of our relationship, which was that she was looking for uh, like kind of kinky experience in relationship of a 24/7 dominant partner. And I didn't really know what that was, but when it happened, it's like it was like an awakening that came through me. And it was like learning to trust that what's coming through is not going to destroy me or be terrible for me or be a bad thing. Right? Like that was kind of like the way I created that possibility to even trust it. Because I feel like we have these times, moments in our lives when something's emerging and it's like, well, it will destroy my life, it'll destroy me, it'll destroy whatever is going
Mhm.
on. And so like learning how to, I had done a lot of work on learning how to trust what was coming through, and what came through was just an expression of human experience, but that expression being like the experience of feeling like God, feeling like power beyond anything I had imagined,
Wow.
and just another way we can express ourselves. It's another way of being, and that, but that led to seeing how much, even in suffering, even in like places where we're like, I don't want it, I don't like it, but we keep doing it anyway, that there is, could easily see the pleasure behind what what's really going on there. But you have to like look at people with dark eyes. If you're looking at them with the eyes of like, oh babe, yeah, you don't want that. Like that's a part. Definitely
Mhm.
doesn't want that. I don't want bad things to happen to that little guy, that little girl, that little one in there.
Mhm.
Um, and also, there's other parts in there that are reasons why you're choosing it. And who are those parts? What are those parts? And jealousy as an emotion is uh, like one of those undeniable shadow emotions that bring up parts that oftentimes we don't want to know about, we don't want to see, we wish didn't exist. They're inconvenient, they don't match society's ideas of what is it like to be human? What is it to be a good human? What is it to be um uh who you think you are? And jealousy can just really break that up, which gives it a really, it's an excellent medicine when it's received as a medicine to like break things open and discover things about ourselves that are beyond what we've been entrained to think about ourselves, or what we believe we need to hang on to in order to be okay. Jealousy is like its own kind of psychedelic medicine that comes through and says, wait, there's more here.
Whoa, I had never heard these two words in the same sentence, I think. Like jealousy as medicine.
Mm,
It is so far away from what we would think of as jealousy. Usually we think about jealousy as this poison or as this really like dark force that from where nothing good can come. And that's partly why I'm doing this research on eroticizing jealousy, because it does, I think, embody so much power that is generally very repressed in us. So I'm very curious about this idea of jealousy as medicine. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, medicine treats the underlying illness, right?
Hmm.
I would say the underlying illness is from fragmented self, a self that believes it has to make parts of itself wrong
Hmm.
in order to be okay, in
Hmm.
order to fit in order to belong, in order to be a part of society. And jealousy starts to break that down, break that open, which is terrifying because you can feel like we're going to lose belonging, we're going to lose our partner, we're going to lose that people are going to judge us, or we're going to behave in a way that just isn't going to be acceptable, or we're just going to be lost in our own feelings and emotions and attachment fears forever and ever, and it's never going to go away. All
Yeah.
those things, all of those are just the indications of the medicine doing its work on us. And
Hmm.
that because if we listen to it and we allow ourselves to hear the parts that it's revealing within us, their voices, their needs, their desires, then we start to hear ourselves. We start to hear the parts of ourselves that are not allowed, the parts
Hmm.
of ourselves that we've been trained not to listen to. And so it can feel, it's always painful to feel a fragmented self, a fragmented part of ourselves that we've, whether consciously or unconsciously, usually unconsciously put away and made wrong.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like, it's painful to see someone in pain. It's painful to put a baby in a closet and close the door and leave them crying in there for years.
Yeah.
Like that's a painful thing to hear. So our tendency is to like go away from it. It's like, oh, how do I shut another door? How
Yeah.
many doors do I need to shut before I stop hearing the baby crying through the
Right.
door? Right.
Hmm.
Like that is an approach to the self. And it is, in my experience, the approach most of us have learned on
Hmm.
how to be with ourselves. And so jealousy is that thing that the baby cry that's louder than we can not hear. It comes up it because it hits us in our most intimate relationships, the ones where we feel like we're there's the most matters to us, and that's going to be taken away from us. And then that we start to hear the underlying voices that we haven't been hearing going off within. And the way we shut the door on hearing those voices was to say like, I'm going to have a really secure relationship. I'm going to have control. I'm going to
Hmm.
have, I'm going to make sure you don't do anything that causes me hurt. I'm going to
Hmm.
make sure that I fully own you. And that way I'll never have to ever have that experience I had when I was young. And I felt like I was going to be abandoned and I felt like I was going to be left alone. All of that is just to stop hearing that part within us that feels abandoned.
Yes. Yes. I'm getting full body chills as you're describing that because, so much of my work is about eliminating this idea that so much of our relationship constructions are repressive, like they are subconsciously meant to, yeah, keep us in a box. And it's not because we're trying to control each other so much as we're trying to control our own emotional world because we don't think we can handle it. We don't think we can handle what's in us. And it is so painful, like when I feel into like how we then expand into entire social systems, like normativities, especially mononormativity, where we expect everyone to be in a monogamous box, typically a heterosexual monogamous box of a relationship, and everyone who's trying to go outside of that is then, stigmatized or ostracized or can, like just feel like it creates so many more barriers. Like not only are there internal barriers, but societal barriers to that. Like it creates a whole system of repression, which is a great kind of macrocosm of the microcosm like the microcosm of our own internal repression then expands to our whole society.
Mhm. Mhm. Totally. Yeah,
So,
and I like that mononormativity thing because it's not, to me, it's not a question of like like a relationship style being better than another one. Like once we address the abandoned parts of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in some ways I could say you could say it's like a lifelong journey, but you get to the other side and you stop closing the door and you actually hear and listen and you start treating negative emotions um as a guide for understanding yourself and revealing what your actual needs are. Where you arrive on the other side of that is like, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But it's you're going to have to move through the any places where normativity of any sort, heteronormativity, mononormativity, or any other kind of normativity that you've existed in that kept you from that, feeling that part, feeling the abandoned self.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to break through that, and then what happens on the other side of it's like doesn't matter. Like before we're trying to figure that. I used to be when I first discovered open relating, I was seeing this was I there was a part of me that was like rejecting monogamy and mononormativity. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then having gone all the way through it, I'm like, oh, maybe more monogamous than some people, not because of insecurity, because I mean, I still have there's still whispers of jealousy that come up in my life, but because it just works better for me to have one partner because I'm busy.
Right.
So like, but like we're not compelled by the fears of our own self into whatever relationship styles that we're choosing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's not a monogamy out of fear, it's a monogamy out of choice, knowing what's inside of you. That's a very different kind of monogamy. Absolutely.
Right. And there's always this deconstruction that happens too as we're breaking down a religion that we come from and any kind of normativity that we come from. There's like a feeling of like, oh gosh, what do I do with all those dark voices in there? And that when they're a guide, and that's when it comes back to medicine, it's a medicine into wholeness, so that when you make a choice, you're not making a choice to continue to shut down from hearing your deeper self. You're making a choice from hearing your deeper self and
Right.
making a choice that includes all of you, all
Mhm.
parts. And then life becomes very dynamic, right? Like, what is normal? Like, what
Mhm.
will be tomorrow? What is today? I don't know. How do you find security when your relation, like, I don't have any relationship agreements with my
Mhm.
partnership other than like we both agree that everything we do serves that
Mhm.
relationship. What does that mean? I don't know. We figure that out every day. I don't know. There's no, there's no firm ground. We're on the earth, which has different terrain and different areas and different places where you walk.
Mhm.
So, where do you find your balance there? It's not in the ground, it's not on the floor, it's in your feet, it's in how you move, it's in how you respond to the terrain as you climb and you go, right? Like that to me is what it is to listen to the shadow self and start to hear your needs based on that is that you instead of being a normalized human is raised at the flat floor. Floors
Yeah.
should be flat because if they were rough, you could hurt yourself. And if
Right.
you come from all floors being flat, then that's going to be true. It sounds ridiculous, but it is actually to me what mononormativity and any kind of normativity is. It's like we create a feeling of safety out there
Mhm.
that way
Mhm.
we don't have to listen to what's in here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like there's places you can't go. It's like, you have a house with many rooms, and then it's like some of them are condemned, and you just like don't go there.
Mhm.
But then when you start like deciding like, okay, I'm gonna, go to those kind of previously condemned places, then you reclaim so much real estate, so much spaciousness within
Mhm.
yourself.
And capacity to be in a different environment
Yeah.
too within,
Mhm.
which then expands out into every day. And you have a plasticity to how you approach each relationship, each dynamic, each thing, because you're no longer secretly working towards keeping everything within that framework that you were in before. Now you're in the opening to how do I respond to this framework? What is this framework? What does
Mhm.
this actually look like?
Absolutely. And to come back to jealousy, so do you see jealousy as kind of like one of many entry points into that kind of unclaimed or, like disjointed inner territory, or do you see it as like a number one kind of crowbar to go in it that expands and illuminates other emotions that we repress?
Yeah, well, I think both are kind of true, but I think to me the most useful way that I see it is for the way that I use it in my life is that it's jealousy. So jealousy is like the thing I want, I'm going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like to someone or even something. We can be jealous of objects. We can be jealous of circumstances. We can be jealous of all sorts of things. But when we're jealous with another person, it's like, oh my gosh, we get routed through all these ancient family dynamics, some of which we live through, some of which are our parents or grandparents live through, and we're just playing them out. We don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which is amazing, but also terrifying if you're not down with seeing yourself as more than who you thought you were.
Yeah.
Right? It's like there's more going on in here. This thing that I'm feeling, and so jealousy scoops into those like that foundational place
Mm-hmm.
in in uh in the light dark institute. We have something called darketypes, which are like ways of kind of like highlighting different parts of the darkness. And at its like core root of all darketypes is the needy wretch, is the is,
Ooh.
is the part of ourselves that is just needs,
Oh my.
which is the infant, right? Absolutely no capacity,
Yeah.
no way of taking care of itself. And jealousy dynamics bring up that infant self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That sense of powerlessness,
Mm-hmm.
it feels, it always, typically when you feel, it's better to not feel powerless, so go away from the powerlessness, right? And that's part of the shutting the doors, the infinite doors to the baby, right?
Yeah.
Because if you feel powerless, you are powerless, but that's actually not true. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't let yourself feel your powerlessness, then you'll have no power to care for
Mm-hmm.
this one. You'll have no power to be more than or all that this one needs, which is what we really are in our wholeness. We are this infant that we're learning to take care of. And
Mm-hmm.
ourselves is one way that I see it. And so jealousy is that which brings us in contact with this infant self.
Ah. Oh my gosh, yeah. So it's kind of this very, very direct access point to this
Yeah.
itself. And so how do you teach people to actually like create that access, or how have you developed it for yourself? Like you just kind of look at it, and I mean, and that might be a an entry point into our topic of eroticizing it,
Uh,
because first jealousy has this very erotic component when we're talking about this deep, deep, deep desire and need, we're also talking oftentimes about an erotic impulse.
yeah.
So, yeah, do you?
Well, there's two lenses of the erotic approach. One is if you have a kink in something, you can like I fetishize whatever. We all do. We all have our own, whether it's a normal fetish
Mhm.
that we that makes you normal, so it's not a fetish,
Right.
or it's not. It's out. It's not. It doesn't fit any normal boxes. Whatever
Mhm.
you fetishize, right, can give you clues into what is, how to do that. So we can actually kind of like approach feeling from intentional eroticizing the feeling, which has value. I think it can be helpful, but is limited. Uh, the self, there are certain things the self must, it's just too strong of an immune response. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to relax, you're not going to be able to open to enjoyment,
Mhm.
whatever
Mhm.
that is. And so in the kind of like humaning, just like I am this animal that has feelings, and I'm going to learn how to get off on my feelings, right?
Mhm.
There's some, I think there's some great lessons in that to be learned, but
Yeah.
the foundational issue is still there, which is that you still think you're this construct over a swirl of emotion, of feeling. right?
Mm.
You're still this construct that you're trying to hold together, right? Making it eroticizing that within the construct opens some doorways maybe out into what you really are, which
Mm-hmm.
is the experiencer, which is the one like, and as the one who is here in this present moment experiencing all that is and is the universe itself. It sounds really mystical, but it's not. It's just when my eyes close, it disappears. There is
Mm-hmm.
no universe, right? Like in that place, like and this is where it's like you got to break out into the mystical, right? Which is not weird. It's weird to not be in the mystical. It's weird to not realize that. And because when you're in raw experience,
Mm-hmm.
everything is just bonus because it's all here or it's not. And my hand, if you cut this hand off, I still have this hand, which is like an unbelievable miracle beyond anything I can imagine. When you're in that level of experiencing life, then you can start to understand how every feeling, every emotion, every sensation, anything that's going on can be beyond even what you even imagine erotic. What the constructed self imagined was erotic, right? It's beyond even arousal. It's like that
Yeah.
raw experience with all that is. And so I
Right.
say this because tapping into that place,
Mm-hmm.
right, which is a breaking out of the construct of the self, a breaking out of like, I am this, and therefore I am not that.
Yeah,
Right.
kind of like the ego or the super ego, like that kind of like my identity, like the part of us that thinks we're in control of what's happening and that we know ourselves. Like our identity or our ego would be another way to say it, right?
Totally.
But
Yeah.
then beyond that, kind of actually melting into like raw experience or going into, what Freud would say, like our id, like that kind of like animal self that, we're trying not to identify with, but it is so much more powerful than that little prefrontal, cortex layer.
Game game that we're in, the game of me, right? This is like
Yeah, yeah.
this little game I play where I like this and I don't like that, right? Jealousy starts to is it a chance to break that game up, I
Right,
guess.
right. And go into that kind of raw power that we're so afraid of. And you're talking about like eroticizing it as almost like a little bridge towards that more like raw experience, that transcendent experience where it's not really about like sexualizing it. It's just like experiencing it without judgment.
Mhm. Yeah, and and it could be very erotic. Like it could be very arousing.
Mm.
It is. Life is arousing. Life is aliveness, right? We're like brought into that. So
Mm.
you know, yeah, I like this idea of a bridge that you put out here, right? It's like what's happening? We're in jealousy. We're on a bridge,
Uh-huh.
bridging the constructed self with feeling, with what is it to be in the feeling, and what arises when we start to learn how to trust the feeling,
Hmm.
which includes the constructed self, because there are rules, right? Like if I hit you without consent, you're not
Hmm.
going to want to play with me, even though I enjoyed it. Like there are rules to how we commune, how we come together,
Mhm.
right? But those rules are not defined by the presumed social contracts, because we all have different presumed contracts about what is consensual and what is okay and what's not okay.
Mhm.
They're defined by me feeling myself and me feeling you and learning how to trust that. And then we create a relationship that creates more like that becomes a demonstration to others of what is possible in
Mhm.
relationship, right?
Mhm.
Which doesn't need to be, but it does. And then we start having relationships and experiences where instead of going towards how do I define myself and get myself into this rigid idea of self and have this rigid idea of what friends are and how community and what I get to this happy dream, which then is never satisfying enough. The thing that's really satisfying is like to have the relationships that are really in alignment with how feeling myself is feeling you. So, but that's the trust game to me. That's like, why would I walk out that bridge? Why not define everything against that bridge? Why not keep that bridge closed? Well, you can't, I mean, that's the attempt. I certainly have done that for years, and it's an inclination. Why not keep ourselves in this place where we're defining relationships as that which keeps me from feeling bad versus relationships that is that which opens me to more of who I am and opens us more of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
but just kind of like seeing it on a civilizational level, to me, that's a really ideal thing for our future, for us to start trusting in that, because that's where we create new culture. And we're always needing to create new culture. We're always needing to create new possibilities, new experiences, new ways of deepening into what's possible in this experience. So all the experiencers can have, can be, we don't get caught in these dark rooms, right? And the dark room seems like the protected place, right? We think we're shutting the baby out, but we're actually shutting ourselves in.
Right.
Like that's what happens in the mind. And so a lot of it, I was spent much of my parts of my attention caught in these dark rooms
Mm-hmm.
self, and believing I needed to stay in them in order to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing, once you get out and you see from the outside what's going on, you're like, oh my God, whoa, that was a bad trip, man. The sense of persona play was just a bad trip, even though
Yeah.
you thought it was the only thing keeping you alive, and the body gets like hooked into that. So jealousy is a medicine to break us out of those places. And I see it as a friend and an ally. And I think, the mind is so powerful. All you have to do is just be like, oh, hello, friend. I
Uh-huh.
don't know. You're a friend who makes me feel very uncomfortable. But you're also my guide. Hello, teacher. Hello, guide. It's like something as simple as that when jealousy arises, to just label it, because you're
Mm-hmm.
labeling it already. And this is a big part of my work, is like seeing how we're just auto labeling things.
Mm-hmm.
Label it what you want. Label it as your teacher. Label it and let your body go into response to that, right? Like that's your brain, your relationship with something is how you label it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it begins, and
Right.
that's the approach.
We will, we'd label jealousy as our enemy, as the
Right.
like a dangerous part, or like a, like a demon that we even like think like, well, it's their fault, it's the person I'm jealous of, it's their fault. Like they need to do something else because they're making me feel bad. Like then we feel like a victim. So if we label the jealousy as a teacher, as our medicine, as the bridge towards more of who we are, then we totally change our relationship with it and we reclaim it.
Yeah. And one of the things that comes up, I feel like for people, it's like, well, what about my need? Like I've tried, I try to see it as a good thing, but it's so painful, and I feel like I'm dismissing some part of myself, which can happen. I think there's these like kind of like, I don't want to bypass, like is it, like the question comes up in relating, I feel like oftentimes I hear this, which is like, if I see my jealousy as a friend,
Mhm.
or don't see them needing to make a change, then I could be like putting myself in a harmful situation, self-harm, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Which I don't disagree with that notion,
Mhm.
because if I'm in the dark room and they're doing something that's causing something I don't want to feel,
Mhm.
I don't like, I'm a no to feeling it, then I need to I need to end that relationship, and I need to step away, right? So I can be in the dark room without feeling
Yeah.
feeling that thing anymore. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't torture someone who's in a, it's like putting someone in solitary confinement and then torturing them while they're in there.
Mhm.
So yeah, don't do that. But do notice that you're in solitary confinement. Do notice that we have set up our relationships in a way that inevitably put us into that solitary confinement, because they're going to do them. They're going to be them. They're going to always do things you don't want them to do,
Mhm.
and creating a taboo against those big ones.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
this is where it's like, we could agree to disagree, but I think that's where that the jealousy is where it's like, no, actually, none of that. That the game doesn't work to stay in solitary confinement. We got to break, like we get to come out. We get to hold that one who's in solitary confinement. We get to open the door and let them out. We get to show them and guide them how we want to be rather than how we've been led to be, which
Mhm.
causes our bodies pain and causes us to feel like our relationships are limited and only go so far. We have to go in and get those parts out and learn how to walk on the new terrain so that
Yeah.
so for me it's like jealousy is like awesome. It's always a win. It's
Yeah.
always a win when it arises because it's always inviting us into that real game,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
real raw relating. And
Mm,
like the reason I feel you like I'm going to lose you is a game I'm in, even death, right?
mhm,
Like you can be jealous of death. And in fact, that's actually in some ways to me a really helpful framework that came up in a workshop I was teaching lately. So he's a
mhm.
participant was like, I'm jealous of death, taking my mother away from me.
Oh, yeah, that makes so much sense.
Wow. Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Mhm.
And there's me connected to death, right? And all like what's actually there for the experiencer, for the one who's seeing this present moment, right?
Mhm.
To the experiencer, as soon as you and I in this call, you're gone.
Yeah.
You don't exist except as a image memory in my mind that's ever falling away,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? But if we're in relationship and I've defined you in some way,
Mhm.
and the idea that I will see you again,
Mhm.
right? Well, I'll see you again. So that means there's continuity and we'll
Yeah.
always be there, right? That's a dark room.
Because it's an illusion.
It's an illusion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a construct. It's something that we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better.
Right. Because you could die and I may not see you, or we may just never see each other again because of certain life circumstances or who knows what. But does that change what I felt? Does that
Mhm.
change that I felt connected to you? I don't
Yeah.
know. And that's true of all our relationships. So it's like no one's ever really, from the experience's point of view, breaking outside of jealousy of death,
Hmm.
that emotion to see, oh, I put myself in this dark room where you're always dying. You're always about to leave me.
Yeah, it's like confronting the most raw reality possible
Yeah.
without any filters, like we die, we lose, like we are not safe in this world. We can't just control our environment. So yeah, jealousy is the opposite of control. So it is a medicine. It's like a medicine against the illusory kind of world we create and we construct to make ourselves feel safe.
Mhm. And like just to use that framework, the very idea of death is
Yeah.
applied as like a solitary confinement we put ourselves in, right?
Mhm.
Like not to say like there isn't evidence that animals die, and we as in this current framework I'm in, I will pass away, but I may never see you again, but there's still an experience there. There's still this lives on as
Mhm.
long as it lives on until there's another one, until there's another one, until there's another one.
Mhm.
And all that it teaches me about myself and all that it teaches us about who we are is is what's coming alive in that moment. It's coming alive, like grass growing, and then it
Yeah.
will and it will die, then grass will grow again. Like that. We're
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
fixed labels or anything like that. And we break into those places where it's like, actually, it's weird. It's like life is totally unsafe. But when you can really let life be totally unsafe,
Mhm.
that's when it becomes really safe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like,
Like there's no death. It's like you got to face death in order to realize that there's no death. And so, this I have to go way out there with jealousy because it's insane. I mean, it's an emotion like heavy grief when someone dies, and maybe it's the same feeling
Mhm.
actually. There's like they're cousins we just think of as differently,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
like that's what we're talking about when we're facing jealousy. And so, like seeing death, seeing grief, seeing jealousy, seeing seeing the end as a friend. And one of the things that I think is really worth mentioning that really brings up is when I feel jealous, it shows me how much I care.
Mm.
It shows me how much it matters to me. It
Mhm.
shows me like both like the person, my own desire, my, you know, my feeling of insecurity and
Mhm.
that part of me. How do I be with that one? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Right. It's like the opposite of not caring.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, okay, so just getting into kinky fun here,
Hmm.
right? Like getting into like the eroticization is it opens up the doorway to imagination. Like if you feel jealous, yeah, it could be you're afraid going to lose your partner. It could be because you're jealous of your own desire with that third person. You're jealous of your own, like like you don't know how to manage the amount of turn on that's coming up for you in
Hmm.
relationship to them relating to that other person. Oh
Hmm.
no.
Hmm.
What would it be like to live into embodying those feelings, those sensations that turn on?
Hmm.
Actually, what are the doorways that actually opens up? And then, a lot of styles of relating, a lot of things that we never imagined for ourselves, suddenly not only become possible, but like something we could actually do, something we could actually
Hmm.
like live into. And it could be way more fun than our little like off-gassings of sexual energy that we do in
Hmm.
order to like stay in control of ourselves. So kind of like going from the mystical to the like we can make life very, very erotic. We can have what we want. We can go after what we want, and it can be good for ourselves and others.
Hmm. What are the ways that you've seen people like use jealousy as a kink, slash as a bridge towards that greater inner freedom?
Well, the example that comes to mind for me is in my first marriage, my partner was having some kind of affair that I didn't know about, and we were living in different places, and I was broken open. I was just so jealous and wanted to. I was like trying to see to her Facebook messages and find out what was going on between them. I wanted there was lies, things weren't consistent. I needed to know the truth. I had to figure this out, and I would stay up at night. I would not sleep. I wouldn't sleep. I was just tortured in my being, just like absolutely the worst thing ever. But also I was like losing weight and working out all the time and discovered like Eckhart Tolle and awakening and all but it was like my first kind of awakening in this life.
Nice.
Besides when mom died before that, but it just was like context coming in. So I could say all these positive things that happened, but and they did. It led to a much like more erotic energy between her and I when we finally came together. But I always saw her having an affair as a very negative thing
Yeah.
and was a problem that we had to overcome.
Hmm.
Right. And it led me to breaking these bridges within, but I wasn't seeing those bridges as friends yet. I was seeing them as once we get back to this thing, but enough bridges did happen that I was like, oh, maybe there's something more than this constructed self here.
Hmm.
And then, fast forward, I've done all this work on jealousy. I've seen it as a friend and everything like that. And my partner's mentioning that she had some kind of experience with this guy. And then it's like a little bit later, she's like, oh, I noticed my period's late. And my brain's like, this is what my brain does. It
Hmm.
goes, oh, did you have an affair? And are you pregnant?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, my partner is like, oh, the last person on she's like the most trustworthy human being. Like if she did have an affair, like which we can't really have affairs in our relationship in the way that most people take it. But if she did, she would tell me every single thing that happened
Hmm.
and nothing would be like I have zero doubt of that whatsoever. But this part of me is like caught. And I could feel it. It's like that part that wants to know. It
Yeah.
wants to find out. So I was like, okay, what's this one want? This one wants to have a game. He wants to go on a journey. He wants to find out. He wants to be left out of the picture and be in the discovery, get the aha and power. So I asked her to I was like, oh, okay. So I want you to have an affair. Don't tell me and leave breadcrumbs. Just just enough breadcrumbs that I could start to question whether you're having the affair or not.
Oh my God. Love
So,
that.
and that's the opposite of what you're supposed to do in every way, right? And what did that do? It just creates more trouble. Like she literally, this is what it's like. I use this example because it's like that I'm totally safe, even if she does what I want.
Mhm.
Like then I get that part of me gets to have that experience, and I get to discover that part that's still feeling like he could be wronged and cheated and
Yeah.
broken open. And I've spoken on his behalf and his desire for it. It's like some of these things we can live out and play out and have and be a part of our, sexual connection and fun and connectivity. But some of these things you just need to name as a not a problem,
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
something that's for you that you want as a desire.
And
And
it's this kind
yeah,
of, like inner playground. You're just like, oh, you don't want to leave a part of you out that's kind of, saying like, hey, I wanna play, I wanna
yeah,
come, I wanna be part of, like I wanna be left out and feel that and have something to chew on. So you're kind of in a way like engaging with that part openly.
yeah, yeah. And like, when we first were dating together, other men would be interested in her and they knew we were open, but we were in a dominant submission relationship. And there was this, you know, the old Leslie would be like, oh, okay, let me deal with those emotions and feelings that are coming up because I want to have an open relating life and I'm learning from jealousy as my friend. Yeah. But who I was then was just like, oh, you want to connect with her? You're going to talk to me. And then I would like interview them. But it was like, I'm
Uh-huh.
not interviewing them from a place of insecurity. I'm interviewing them from a place of like, your desire for her is your desire for us. And you are in play with us, right? Like that. And they would always amp this, it would always amp things. It was just another play. I was just playing with them. Like bringing my feelings of ownership and possession and jealousy forward and then they got to interact with me and have an experience with us
Uh-huh.
versus just her. Uh,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
which made all there's so many like doorways of fun and pleasure and opening door like open like that's possible. Like we always have to like manage the other partner when you're in open relating as opposed to the other partner coming in and being an integral part of it.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many possibilities that are just unimagined when we're kind of like in that place of protecting from the feeling. And yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm trying, I always like, think about like what is the theory, what is the kind of like the distilled wisdom from all of this? And it sounds like, the jealousy is the bridge towards inner freedom in all of these situations. And the way to kind of cross the bridge is to have a playful, friendly attitude towards it.
Mhm.
That can include eroticism or sexualizing jealousy, but just, like it's not the only way to do that.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just yes anding the part that's scared and hurt and feeling like it's going to be abandoned.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like, yes, and how do I, when we're in alignment and there's resonance with that, with like I'm not split into multiple parts. I'm just this is what's coming forward. Then then we get to play this out. We are mammals. We desperately want connection. We don't want to be abandoned. None of us wants that, right? And so this like humaning thing, I spoke about the mystical side, but the humaning side, we go to the mystical side where we are raw experience itself in order to see the truth.
Hmm.
We can come back into humaning in order to see ourselves as the best possible parents for our inner parts ever. The ones that give us maximally take care of us, maximally show us the way, open to our desires, create the pathway for it instead of like making it a problem or being
Hmm.
afraid that they're not enough or whatever, right? All of those, like we're growing into these like parents that can like actually make these amazing, connective plays on our behalf with the other parts of others. So we are all these children who get to actually live into the world that we wanted, that we wanted in our souls, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not because some of that wasn't allowed, because it was wrong or kinky or too erotic or too young. It was too much, all that stuff, right? Like we as adults get to like create that and do it in a way that feels really good for ourselves and others. And that to me is like it creates inner freedom, but that inner freedom allows us to create create outer freedom and choice, freedom of choice with others. So ultimately, I think that's the thing that I'm most interested in on a societal level is how, what do we trust if moral frameworks put us in black boxes where we have to avoid, push down, make enemies, make things wrong, all that stuff, which is, you know, one way to look at moral frameworks. I think there's more ways to look at it than that. What do we actually trust? And I think the thing we actually trust is like seeing our negative emotions, seeing the challenges and the problems, the aversions, and all of that stuff as guides and helping us to our bigger selves so that we can relate to each other
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in deeply satisfying ways.
Absolutely. And that leads me to my last question, which is how do you think that, the kind of this relationship with jealousy, like eroticizing it or just really embracing it, how do you think that connects to compersion?
Yeah, well, compersion. So when my young part is suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and I open the door and I get with them and I
Mm-hmm.
love on them and I hold them as like everything. They are so important. They get to be here with me. They get to be here in this experience. When I do that, right, I'm not shutting the baby out of the closet, then what happens with my partner is that as I feel myself, oh, right, they're connecting with someone else. Oh, but I'm not making it a problem because I got me. I got this part of me. I got the part of me that's terrified I'm going to be abandoned. It can't be abandoned because I'm always there for it. I'm always there with it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hanging out with that, right? Like, or, and here's a little bit more kinky version of this is like, I've got you, and also if we get abandoned together. Like I get left by the side of the road because that's where I've always got you. And
Uh,
you and me always, as it always was. I'm gonna
uh,
dare to feel those feelings. You know,
mhm,
all
mhm,
of that is part one of the millions of ways to get off on compersion, but I think it's foundational to like be with yourself. Once you're with yourself, then everything your partner does is just showing you your desire, how much you care, how connected you actually are beyond your partner to
yeah.
others. You
Right.
know, the energetic lines that connect us, the
Mm-hmm.
ways we can play with those energetic lines, those are all very real to the infant. We've forgotten it because of conditioning. We don't know those things, but the infant knows. So we can get good with the infant, then we get tapped into energies and movements of of relationships that we've of the kind of deeper limbic mammalian mind that we are in touch with that do create like synchronicities, synergies, and all sorts of things that like indicate that there's more going on than our constructed self is
Mm-hmm.
available. Then that to me is what compersion is. Compersion's like, I am a yes to life impacting me and affecting me and not making it a problem.
Oh my gosh, that is like one of the most beautiful definitions of compersions I've ever heard. Like just a yes to life impact. That is gorgeous. Thank you so, so much for your wisdom. I am so blown away. I just feel like I just got kind of hit by a truck of wisdom and I need to integrate that. It's so, so powerful to be with you in conversation, Leslie.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this topic alive. It's so important, and like I feel really inspired by your both like the work the book you've written to like really start talking about like what is this compersive thing? What is compersion? And like and that you're continuing putting that out and having this conversation because I think it's so important and
Yeah.
really
Thank
grateful for you.
Yes. Oh, my pleasure. I am committed to the light and the dark.
Yay, we can have night and day. That's so good.
Oh, what a concept.
What a concept.
Freedom. Awesome. Thank you so, so much.
So good to meet you.